Hello everyone, welcome to Prepare to Write. I'm Dr. Keely Mohan Doyle. This semester you will be asked to incorporate information from outside sources, such as websites, news articles, and academic journal articles, into your own work. This video lecture will explain the three major ways to use sources and how to cite them correctly as you do. There are three methods for incorporating information from sources into your paper: quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Pay careful attention to when you should use each method. The first way to use a source is quoting. Quoting involves using the exact words and punctuation from a source. You should not make any changes to the original language. You should quote the source when the specific language used is particularly important or striking, the language is already concise, a key concept is explained, it provides strong evidence for a point you want to make, or you want to avoid accusations of bias or misrepresentation. Another way to use your sources is to paraphrase them. Paraphrasing involves rewording a small section of a source, usually a sentence, paragraph, or a page, into your own words. While your paraphrase may be as detailed as the original, it is clearly written in your own style. It should not keep the grammatical structures and vocabulary of the original. Paraphrase a source when you want to be more concise than the original, the language is too confusing or technical for your audience, or you want to demonstrate your understanding of the concepts and ideas. A final way to use your sources is to summarize them. Summarizing involves explaining the major ideas of a source in your own words. While similar to paraphrase, summaries tend to be significantly shorter than the original source and leave out the details, instead ensuring that your reader understands the basics of the source, such as the plot or the main arguments. Summarize a source when you want to provide basic contextual information, the original is too long or wordy to include as a quote, and you want to reference a source that is not the focus of your writing. Once you have decided which will be the most appropriate method for incorporating the source into your paper, you need to make sure that you cite the source correctly in text so your reader knows where the information came from. In-text citations can be done in 5 easy steps: introduction, information, citation, punctuation, and explanation. When you use your source, you need to indicate to your reader that you are doing so. To do this, use a signal phrase such as "according to X" or "X says," where X stands for the name of the author or the title of the source. When you include the author or authors of a source, there are a few rules to keep in mind. If there is only one author, discuss them using their full name or just their last name. Generally, you don't want to use the author's first name only, because it is possible that you may have several sources with an author named something like Bill. It also shows respect to the author whose information you are including. If you use the title of the source, you should indicate what type of text it is by using quotation marks for short works, such as articles and chapters, and italics for long works, which we also call containers, such as journals and books. Use title case, which requires you to capitalize the first letter of each word in the title except for the articles such as A, an, and the, and prepositions. If a title is particularly long, try to use a shortened version of it. For example, many academic article titles have a main title followed by a colon and a subtitle. In this case, just use the main title. Finally, only use the title the first time you use a source so your paper doesn't become cluttered. Once you have introduced the source, you can incorporate the information that you want to share with the reader using a quotation, paraphrase, or summary. When using a quotation, use the exact words from the source and place them in quotation marks so the reader knows that you have not made any changes to the language. While quotations tend to be full sentences, they can also just be a few words worked into your own sentences. Because these are still the exact words of the source, you should put the selected words or phrases in quotation marks. When using a paraphrase or summary, you do not put the information into quotation marks because you're using your own words to convey the information. A paraphrase or summary may be one sentence or it may be multiple sentences long. Once you have introduced the source and given information from it, you need to include a citation, specifically a parenthetical citation, to make it easier for a reader to find the information in the original and verify you have used it correctly. Parenthetical citations should come immediately after your quotation, summary, or paraphrase and will usually contain the author or author's last name and the page number where the information can be found. If there is no author, use the title of the text. If there is no page number, you can use the paragraph number to help your reader. If your source is a video or audio text, you can provide the reader with a timestamp for when the information appears. Here are some examples of what a parenthetical citation could look like. When incorporating information from a source into your paper, you want to avoid separating the parenthetical citation from the information it is citing. For this reason, the final punctuation will go after the citation. If you use a direct quote, the period at the end of the quote is left out. If you are paraphrasing, the period at the end of the last sentence of the paraphrase will go after the citation. The only exception to this rule is when you are quoting and the source used an exclamation point or question mark. In this case, you leave the original punctuation, but still include final punctuation after the citation. Never assume that the information from your source is self-explanatory. Tell your reader why you included it. Well, there are many ways to do this. Here are a few of the most common. Explain the importance. Why does the reader need to know this information? How does it affect their understanding of the topic? Translate any jargon in the original that a general audience wouldn't know. Expand on the information by adding more details or explaining specific elements. Connect the ideas provided by one source to ideas provided by another or to your own ideas about the topic. Talk about why you think the information from the source is wrong. The main thing to remember is that this is your paper, so your voice should be the main one that your reader hears. Now that we have covered all of the individual parts of an in-text citation, let's put them together. Here are a few examples. In this first example of a quotation, we have quoted a few sentences from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. We introduce the author by his last name, provide the exact words from the text, close off the quotation, and include a citation of the author's last name and the page numbers for the quoted information. Then we add the final punctuation. The explanation tells the reader why we think Dorothy reacted the way that she did. In the second quotation example, only a brief quoted phrase is worked into our own sentence to highlight the strength of the specific language. Notice that the citation does not come immediately after the quotation. Instead, it is placed before the final punctuation at the end of the sentence. This is to avoid clutter. The explanation here focuses on the quoted information, using it to show that Dorothy understands how bad her situation is. The paraphrase example takes the same scene we just quoted, but puts the events into our own words. The introduction and citation act as a frame in the paragraph to show the reader what ideas and information come from the author and help to indicate where our explanation of the information begins. The summary is similarly framed by the introduction and citation, but instead of focusing on one small section of the text, it seeks to provide the reader with an overview of the entire first chapter in which the scene occurs. If you have any questions about incorporating sources or using parenthetical citations, please contact your professor or visit the APSU Writing Center located on the first floor of the Felix G. Woodward Library.